Fulham Shore is a publicly quoted vehicle on AIM, and there's our usual disclaimer after our credits, which is what's described as the small print. But here we go. We founded this company in 2012, and our whole idea was to buy businesses that we could expand within the UK and then perhaps abroad. And we were going to buy at least one or two businesses, which gave us a spread of risk. And we only really were interested in casual dining in between the £9 and £18 head level, which we think is defensive in terms of economic downturn. And we eventually bought two businesses, Franco Manca. We bought when it was 11 restaurants, and we now have 55. And the Real Greek we bought when it was 6, and we now have 19. We have been, the whole team, that is, myself and other members of the team, have been working together for many years. Okay, so as I say, Nick, who's going to appear later on your screens, is a relatively new boy at 14 or 15 years. We're currently capitalized at about 100 million. By coincidence, we put out our yearly update this morning, which will be in all the papers tomorrow morning and is online now. That was our year ending March 21, and this presentation covers quite a lot of that ground about that report. But it also covered current trading, which we'll go on to a bit later as well. So we bought these two businesses. We're currently capitalized at about £100 million, and we have 74 restaurants. Next slide, please. Oh yeah, we're there already. Strategy. Our strategy is as it was when we founded the business. We want growth businesses where we can grow the number of restaurants we own, and also grow the profits from each store. We like to think, we try not to think of ourselves as a chain, but a group of individual restaurants branded with, a lot of the restaurants look different. We don't do a cookie cutter approach apart from back of house, which the customers don't see. And we increase shareholder value by increasing the profits and the number of stores we own in each brand. We're not making as much money as we possibly could. We'll come onto our pricing structure later, but we reinvest our profits, some of our profits, in keeping the prices low. We have a couple of mantras in Franco Manca, which we'll come on to later, but we look at our competitors in both the Greek and Franco Manca and constantly evaluate their menus and their pricing, so we are the best value in the market. We were going to pay a dividend because historically we were throwing off more cash than we needed to open restaurants as part of our expansion plan. But because the coronavirus came along, we were just about to start paying a dividend, but we've obviously put that on hold, and we will consider that again in a year or so when we've re-established our growth pattern, which we'll go on to in a minute. So the first brand is Franco Manca, which has a very, very simple menu. We have 7 pizzas on the menu and a couple of specials on the board. And we have a couple of mottos or mantras in this business. One is we believe a customer should come in and have a pizza and a drink for less than £10, which is still the case. And the second one is that we like to fix our prices at a very low level, so that our most expensive menu pizza is cheaper than the Pizza Express Margherita, which currently is about $9.85. So our pizzas range from about $5.50 to under the price of the Margherita at Pizza Express for our most expensive. We're currently at 55. We've opened 2 this year in Holborn, London and Glasgow. and we can see or foresee 180 pizza operations within the UK. We win awards for value and experience every year, and we have many regular customers, and we're serving over £100,000 pizzas a week. Our spend per head is about just under £10, which gives you an idea of how much money we take away. What has happened recently is our suburbs and coastal towns are doing really well with people working from home. As you might see in our trading statement, we say that our city centre, 17 city centre and West End sites are way down on 2019, but this is made up for by the storming performance of outside London, which is 30% and more ahead of 2019 figures. This malaise in the retail and restaurant industry has allowed us to search for sites that are the cheapest they've been for many years in terms of capex and rent, and so this is fueling our new expansion plan, which we're just about to kick off. We've got a loyalty app which has 250,000 followers, and we've announced today as part of our results that we are looking at international territories for franchising. We have had experience, international franchise, successful experience with Pizza Express, where we opened in about 15 different nations around the world, and we had Gourmet Burger Kitchen where we did the same. Next slide, please. The web traffic of our website has increased over the last 2 years, despite lockdown. We have a loyalty app, and we have over 250,000 customers using it at the moment. We invented a virtual queuing system, which did two things. It controlled the queue in our restaurants because we have queues most of the time, and we also could actually monitor them for track and trace for the government. The Real Greek is providing food from the Eastern Mediterranean. We have dishes from Lebanon, Israel, Egypt, and Greece in the Real Greek. It's a meze concept where group sharing is encouraged by ordering a number of dishes and sharing the small plates. The small plates are anything between £3 and £6, depending on what's on them. And you order more plates than there are people, and then you share the food between people. Once again, really good value. It's at about £16 a head. We had a great launch of a vegan menu a couple of years ago, which brought in some new customers. And since our ownership, we've grown from 6 to 19 restaurants. We have one restaurant being built at the moment in Norwich, a Real Greek, which will open in the next few weeks, which will make 20 Real Greeks. And we believe that within the UK, we can reach 50 restaurants. We're expanding both outside the M25 and looking for sites inside the M25, and we've also got our own grocery store online. It has to be said that before we got into lockdown and the coronavirus epidemic, none of our restaurants were losing money at restaurant level. They were all making money. The whole estate was making money. So you can't run a restaurant. I can't run a restaurant, 24 restaurants on my own. We need an incentivized and committed team. We have been involved in a number of businesses over the years. Pizza Express, we grew from 23 to 350. Gourmet Burger Kitchen, we grew from 4, I think it was, to 55. We've been involved in Bombay Bicycle Club, and we've retained the same people who've moved with us. We have a lot of people working for us now who were with us at Pizza Express, and they moved to Gourmet Burger Kitchen. and they're with us now. And we think it's very important that they don't work for fun, they work for incentives and money. And so we put in lots of incentive schemes and we pay very well. Over half our shareholders, over half our staff are shareholders. They were gifted some shares when we floated, and over half of the staff are still with us. And we have an option scheme for staff and management, of which 11% is used at the moment. So our full year figures, which came out this morning, the really crucial thing on the debt and cash is that in our figures at March 19, we had 12 million of debt. In March 20, which is the figure at the top line there, we had 9.5 of debt. March 21, the top line there, we've got 3.6 of debt. But as of last Friday, we had actually had 3.5 of cash. So in 2.5 years, we've turned a debt of 12 million into a cash sum of 3.5. And this is what happens if you have a cash generative business and you don't open many restaurants. We were planning to open 10 or 12, and we opened 3 in the last year. We've made money through lockdown on takeaway and delivery, despite the Greek not being set up for takeaway and delivery. The Franco Manca really pivoted very well, and we made money through the strictest lockdown, just doing delivery and takeout, but also when we were allowed to open from August to December, dine in last year, especially with eat out, how our sales were running at about 130% of normal. So we did make a lot of money in the second and third quarters of the financial year, we were just reported. In that year, as I say, we've opened 2 new Franco Manca Pizza and 1 Real Greek. And then we've opened 2 more in the current financial year. And we've got, as I say, £3.5 million in the bank. You can see our headline EBITDA, next slide, suffered because of our closure, but we still made a profit at headline EBITDA, a cash profit. And as I say, the cash balances improved all the way through the last couple of years. Despite having cash of £3.5 million on Friday, we have bank facilities of 24.27. So we've actually got 27.7 of facilities to spend on new restaurants, which, given our opening program, will be, which I'll go into in a minute, will be only 10 this year. That'll be 6 or 7 million. So we can expand through cash flow. We don't need our bank facilities. Saying that, we are going to engage with the bank, and we will rearrange all our banking facilities, pay down our government loan, and take out a new loan just in case we want to push the opening program as sites become available. We passed all our covenants, even though a covenant waiver was in place with the bank. And as I said before, the cash generation of the business was such that we have been paying down debt. Now we're net cash. And we're looking for future openings with that in mind. If I can go on to the next slide and say that a property example that's not in here is one in southern England, where we opened Real Greek for effectively no capital expenditure. It was a Carluccio's, and the landlord helped us with the capital expenditure. And although it cost us £200,000 to change from Carluccio's, the landlord helped us out with that. And in return, the landlord got a percentage of rent. We changed to percentage rent, and he's now doing actually quite well because the restaurant's trading at between 35 and 40 grand a week. So he's getting a percentage of that. So he's very happy, and we're very happy because that particular restaurant cost us nothing to open. That's not going to happen in all cases. Not all landlords are quite that generous, but we are getting quite a lot of help from landlords. So going back to this current trading page, we are two Franco Manca have opened in this current year. We're in build in Norwich, which opens soon. There are, as I say, fantastic property opportunities, and we are opening in a couple of European countries we signed heads of terms with, and that's where we are as a result of the presentation. In addition to the presentation, you can see where we are in the UK. We're spreading out of London. We have got Franco Mancas spreading out of London, but we're looking for real Greeks in Edinburgh and Glasgow, which you can see at the top of the map. We've already opened Franco Mancas in Liverpool and Birmingham, and we are looking for real Greek sites. We're negotiating for two in Manchester. As I say, Norwich is opening. We're opening a Franco Manca in Peterborough. So soon that map will have a lot more red and blue about it. We are, with the cash we throw off, we're planning to open 10 this year. We might exceed that. As we said in our announcements this morning, we've opened 2 already. We've got 1 in build, and we have got 12 in solicitors' hands. We won't open them all this financial year, which ends in March. Some of those might drift into next year, but it will certainly be a great boost for the next financial year to have somewhere between 10, 12 restaurants contributing fully in the next financial year. I mean, we also, in the results this morning, said that our average sales increase, group sales increase in the last 8 or 9 weeks was 8%. Putting the two brands together. But if you imagine that in the last 8 or 9 weeks since the government released the restrictions on trading, it started off quite slowly. We were only a couple of points ahead of 2019, but the average is 8. So I think you can imagine what we did last week. We had a record week, a record week that didn't have a bank holiday in it. So about 3 weeks ago, we had a record week. So last week was our second best week. And as far as we can see, sales are growing steadily week by week in both brands. The Greek is very far ahead of Franco Manca in terms of sales compared to 2019, because some people, obviously, especially at my age, still feel very sensitive about eating out. And the Greek has lots and lots of big territories, lots of big terraces, an outside eating area, so that they fill up straight away. I mean, our Bournemouth Real Greek, for instance, has a massive terrace overlooking the gardens in the centre of Bournemouth, and must be one of the busiest restaurants in Bournemouth. Last week it took £70,000 in one restaurant. So that is the finish of a presentation. We have the board is very experienced. I've been working in restaurants since 1973. Bill Mancarios has been working in restaurants since 1986 when he arrived here and worked for me. We've worked together since that time. Nick Donaldson I've worked with since 1993 when he was our broker at Pizza Express. Mr. Wong is, as I say, the new arrival who's only been here 14 years working with us. Martin Chapman was our banker at HSBC before he retired, and he's proved a very good link. We're still with HSBC, our bank, and Des runs the ex-Conran restaurants called D&D, and he's an experienced restaurateur of 25 years. So it's a very experienced, it's probably the most experienced board in running restaurants in the UK. And we're very proud to be involved in these two businesses that we bought and are expanding. And so the future, as far as we can see, we've got over COVID, we've got over the coronavirus, and we pressed the button on expansion. And so we brought out a statement this morning, which was the year end, and we brought people up to date with the current trading, but we will have an AGM at the end of September where we will update the market even more and tell them what the first 6 months look like, because our year starts in April. So by the end of September, we'll have almost 6 months under our belt for the financial year we're currently in. Thank you very much. That's all from me. Yeah.
Any supply chain issues, and what impact would a rise in inflation have on the business?
Well, I've been around a long time, and my experience of inflation has happened 3 or 4 times. I would say the worst was 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, where we seem to be printing menus every week with new prices on, because our input prices were going up and the wages were going up. But we feel, well, sorry, Nick, it's your turn. I'll just say that we feel we're ahead of the game in that we have a lot of elasticity in our menu, in that we are the cheapest at the moment. So whatever inflation throws at us in the cost and wage, food cost and wage area, we can more than cope with it by nudging up our menu prices. Nick, sorry, and Nick, it's your turn to answer questions. What would you say to that
Absolutely.
inflation issue?
There are some pressures on the supply chain, but because we're growing, we are opening more restaurants. We're seeing more volume of customers coming back in to dine in. We are seeing good volume discounts coming through from our suppliers. That said, the wage inflation is obviously here. There are demand for hospitality staff across the sector and not enough people to fill it. So there is some wage pressure, but as David says, we've got enough movement in our sales prices available to us to cover any of that off.
Okay, thank you. I can roll 2 into 1 here. In terms of staffing levels and the scarcity of, getting hold of staff for your restaurants, how is it intended to be addressed in the longer term, and will it affect trading?
It already has affected trading in that staff have not only been pinged and they've been phoned up and said not to go into work because they've been in contact. I think that is now decelerating, as I say. And so we're having less. We've had to all those figures I quoted about great trading is almost every week we've got 2 or 3 restaurants closed because we just reverted to delivery and takeout again because we haven't got staff to do a full service. Nick, would you like to add to actually the what's it called, the bottle blockage in the bottle top, which is labour?
Yes.
Yeah. So because of the scarcity of labour, what we've done is to introduce some new incentive schemes to ensure that we're paying our staff at the best rates out in the market. We're not just sort of approaching a sort of basic pay per hour or salary. We're looking at certain incentives that can also deliver some uplift to the business and improvement and driving the right behaviours and brand values. So that is working for us, and we hope to be known as one of the brands that are paying well in the sector and ensures that our opening plans can be delivered.
Okay, thank you, Nick. Do you have fixed or variable interest rates with your bank?
Our interest rates are all variable, no fixed rates at all. And in fact, we're in transition to the new interest rate SONIA rather than LIBOR. In terms of the margins, it is relatively low. We're paying some on a ratchet between 1.95 above LIBOR, soon to be SONIA, up to about 2.5 above LIBOR right now. So still very, very low levels of interest rates for us.
And also, Nick, we've got net cash at the moment. So what would be more is what interest we're getting on the money we've got in the back, which is diddly squat.
Unfortunately so.
Yeah,
I bet it's so small you can't even say it. Sorry.
Got time for one more. Envisage share price growth or expect to attract investors with future dividends?
We will be revisiting the dividend.
Sorry, I'm a 15% shareholder. I like dividends. Mr. Wong, over to you.
We will be reviewing the position. We entered COVID back in March 2020. At the time, we said we were looking at putting in a dividend policy. Of course, our cash flow changed significantly over the last 18 months. We should be back to normal if all the city centre restaurants become sort of back to normal with sort of high footfall as we used to see it, and that may take a number of months. So as soon as that's sort of in place, then we can revisit our dividend policy again. David sort of mentioned that we are able to fund our openings out of existing cash flow, so that gives us quite a good war chest to move forward.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay,
we haven't discussed it. I don't see the point of borrowing money just to pay dividends, but we could borrow money to open the stores and then build up a cash balance and start paying dividends then. But as I say, it probably won't be, as Nick said, it won't be reviewed until maybe the tourists come back in the West End and the offices come back.